I'm gonna
still
be
here.
back.
We're on now. Hello, everyone.
All right. Hi. We're gonna do the community content next. Let's dive right into it. Only a few things today, which is great because it's 11:13. We only have 15 minutes left. So we're gonna look briefly at the Beholder by V-Bunny.
This is one that saw a lot of excitement on in our Discord. A lot of people were talking about the Beholder.
Beauty is in the eye of the Beholder. Let us begin. It's a large. It's a large swarm of tiny beasts. I haven't looked at it yet. This is my first time giving the Beholder a read through. That's not the angle I thought it was going to be. I love it.
Lawful evil, interesting. Armor class 14, nice. Hit points, cool. It can walk, which I guess beasts can walk. I guess it makes sense. And they fly only 35 feet. I guess that maybe makes sense, right? Because they're flying in a ball.
There might be a reference to a thing.
I know this is a reference to something in Beneath Castle Greyhawk, I believe the module was, from 2nd edition.
Wait, is this a real enemy?
Yes, this is a monster that showed up in that.
Oh my god!
Everybody has reimagined for 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons.
What a delight!
Castle Greyhawk, and this is off topic here. Castle Greyhawk is just D&D time back in the 80s. Like legitimately, one of the rooms in Castle Greyhawk opens onto the wing of a Boeing 777 aircraft.
That sounds like a good. That sounds like a good module, and I should play it. But
it's a very old.
I like that they have the swarm bite, as well as a swarm sting feature.
Yeah, let's look at these. All right, stats seem fine. Interesting, the saving throw proficiencies. And they're perceptive. I guess they have like an eye form, maybe.
The eyes, yeah. There's a lot of them. They can look all around them.
They can speak. Deep speech. Holy crap.
The Beholder has got to. They gotta be some kind of hive mind to all fly around in the shape of a.
Anti-magic go.
Wait, guys. It's a hive mind. I'll see myself out. They get a sting, they get a bite, and then they can use an eye ray. They only get to shoot one eye ray at a time. I see you've given them all of the Beholder eye rays. The only one that concerns me for CR5 is the Death Ray. Oh, actually, the Disintegration Ray does roughly the same thing. Just the idea of putting the Disintegration and Death Rays on a cloud of flying bees seems kind of rough.
I don't know. I think it's fine.
But it's fun. It's. I mean,
silly. Like the Beholder's zombie, right? I imagine
it gets less of the rays. I think.
Yeah, it does. It's a CR5 as well, and the rays do more damage. So I think you're fine.
Yeah. All right. The thing I was more worried about was just with the low hit points, the creature dying if it reduces to 0. Does the other one have that too?
Yeah. Oh yeah, Beholder zombies are horrifying beasts.
That's savage. Oh my god.
I really like V-Bunny's comment here. Also, this can exist. If you look at the Beholder lore, it can exist when it's created by the dreams of the Beholder or one having its nightmares. I'm very well aware of Beholder lore, and so I do very much love this. I feel like if you have like a Beholder's lair, having shit like this to put in there is just a really fun way of really emphasizing, dude, the Beholder's fucking whack. You know what I mean?
Yeah, oh yeah.
I might actually say these are a swarm of tiny aberrations, but I'm fine if you call them beasts too. I guess it makes sense that you could make beasts and they're lawful evil. Interesting. I would have thought they were neutral evil. Or Beholder's gotta be chaotic, right?
I believe Beholders are actually considered lawful evil.
No shit. Yeah. Redacted. V-Bunny? Never mind.
That's the Beholder. I don't have anything else to say about it. It's funny, though. It cracked me up. Just the name is good.
It is very, very good.
I had no idea that was like a real thing that existed in...
Once upon a D&D Castle Greyhawk's time?
Yeah.
Thank you very much for sharing, V-Bunny. And you can find this Beholder, a link to it, and more of V-Bunny's content on our Discord, dnd10.stream. Hit a little Discord button on the top. and join our Discord community. All right. Sorry, I know that sounded very sheepish, but I've said it like 8 times tonight if you're watching the segment on YouTube or Twitch. So do that. Go to our website and click the
watch them
in our community. But anyway, Pete, let's talk about
we
this
got
next
the stone crawler. Yeah, we got the stone crawler next.
Pete, this seems familiar.
It absolutely is. This is a cleanup of something that was put together by Frosty Pirate only last week, and it came onto the Lich's Lair, and it fared very well. Was the final on this one 4 out of 5?
I believe it was 4 out of 5, although we did have a little commentary about lore that I see Frosty Pirate has not added in. Yeah, 4 out of 5, please. Yeah, you're right, 4.5.
Yeah, 4.5. Yes.
Yeah, 4.5. We docked a point somewhere. I think it's because it was CR2 before. And looking at it, looks like you've decreased the hit points a little bit.
No, I think it was
CR1.
CR1, it was supposed to be CR2. So I see it's still CR1, so I don't know if that means that you've brought down some of the power.
But either way, this is a very cool monster. I very much like it. The idea of the stone crawler is it is a little kind of stony skinned canine that prowls around near basilisks and the like, and it devours petrified creatures, and also has some minor petrification itself.
I see you've put the blind sight to 90, which I think is cool, getting that 30 feet increments of 30.
I love it.
So echolocation, I believe, is in. There was an issue with. Oh yes, so you included now the stone crawler can't use their blind sight while deafened. A stone crawler which takes thunder damage is blinded until the start of their next turn. Very cool.
Love it.
I like that. I was a big fan of that particular implementation because then they have advantage on attacks against it, but it still gets to take its turn as normal. So that's cool. The stone crawler has advantage on perception checks that rely on sound. That's the same, and pack tactics is of course the same. And then the hits. Were there any changes that needed to be made to the bite? Because I know that was a.
Yeah, I think the change that happened on Bite is the extra effects from castings was moved to the castings section, which was, I think, a very important thing.
Yes.
Just to note that the dexterity reduction that you get, so when you're bitten by it, you have to roll a saving throw or catch this disease called castings, which slowly reduces your dexterity score and transforms you into, well, petrifies you. And I can see that Frosty moved the 1d4 plus 1 reduction in dexterity score down to the actual section about the disease, which I think was a really good move because it was otherwise confusing whether you lost it immediately or if it was only after 24 hours or what have you. So very good overall. I mean, just all around.
Yeah, this is a clean monster. Like it's not in the lore of D&D, but if Wizards presented this to me, I wouldn't bat an eye. Like, I can definitely see this being the kind of thing they would publish as, like,
absolutely.
We need and the logic would be the same as yours was. We need a companion for Basilisk. Let's make a new thing and put it in the book. And, like, I could definitely see this being that thing.
Yeah, or a Medusa having, like, a pack of these, like, their guard dogs.
Yeah, that's cool, too. A lot of potential with it, with any petrification-based enemy.
Yeah, and although we're not going to go over all of the flavor text stuff this time, there's a lot of really good text in here, right, to give you an idea of how these creatures like sound and act and hunt, what they look like, and some of their ecosystem and their ecology for how they exist in just a few very, very concise and clean paragraphs. Really awesome content. Thank you so much again for sharing, Frosty Pirate. And
yeah, this
you can find Frosty stuff shared on our Discord server. Ding ding.
There. I like the mention.
Yeah, and I can see you brought the armor class down. The hit points were cleaned up. Yeah, this seems like a very, very cool monster. I really like what you've done here. Very good.
Last but not least, we're going to take another look. I know Frog has done some more work on the Pixie race.
Oh, this will be a big boy.
We probably won't have time. We're like right at the precipice of having to go, and there's a lot here. So we're going to probably do. Jeremy, do you want to talk a little bit about it while I just do some skimming to try and find where some of the
yeah. So this is a Pixie race option for 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons. We had this on a Lich's Lair the other week. I think it got 3 out of 5, I think. And the big comments was there was just a lot going on from the balance perspective. There was a lot of the features and mechanics, in addition to the subclasses or sub races that existed. But it was overall very, very, very cool. There's a lot of really awesome lore in here. This is again created by The Forgotten One. 2.5 out of 5. Yeah. So still above what we kind of anticipate most submissions getting, which is the 2. And overall, it looks like dexterity and charisma scores increased by 1. I think that's a departure. I think you had a 2 and 1 before, and it looks like you put an extra 1 on the subclasses.
I believe it was 1, and that was always the case.
I thought it was, well, either way.
So one of the first things I'm noticing here is the Cold Iron version. Before, that gave a vulnerability to damage from iron weapons. Here's what the feature reads now. As a nature-attuned Fey creature, your sensitivity to pure iron gives you problems. You have disadvantage on ability checks made using any pure iron equipment. That's a much more reasonable downside. I'll still note that I'm not into downsides as a rule. And that's it. I just note I'm still not crazy about downsides as a rule, but this one, one thing that I think is really important is that you put the word pure in front of iron twice, making it very clear that, like, for example, if someone wants to play a pixie that wears armor, you just be like, oh, well, it's not pure iron. So that way it doesn't completely, like, get rid of a thing. This can be as niche as a dungeon master chooses to rule it, I think. So I don't think it's that significant of a downside, but it is a downside, and I know Frog was very attached to that. So is Frog here?
Yeah, Frog is in the chat.
Frog is here. Great.
And I can see, Frog, you combined the Gossamer Wings feature, and I think there was a spell casting feature you also had back into the one cohesive feature. So I really like that, having that all kind of together, especially with the pixie dust aspects of it. Just really cool. And I think the sub races still. Oh, we added a little sidebar for small creatures. I love that. Oh, Frog, that's excellent. Well, I want to read these out. Why so small? While most campaigns would take place in the material plane, there may be games in the Feywild where the size of pixies are normally tiny. Here are some alternative reasons why your pixie character could be small instead of tiny. 1, you took a bite out of a gnome's form mushroom. A rare mushroom that shrinks creatures by 1 category. For pixies and other tiny creatures, you would grow a category to small. Okay, a hag caught you trying to steal her cookies. She cursed you to become larger than normal, so you can never fit inside your tiny pixie-sized home again.
Oh, that's a good one.
You messed up a ritual, absorbed its magic, and broke the classroom with your new size. You also got kicked out of that transmutation class. You fell in love with a halfling and drank a potion of embiggening, but the halfling didn't reciprocate those feelings, and now you're stuck as a small-sized pixie. You slept wrong on that mushroom. You don't know how, but you grew a size.
That's a good one.
And you were the child of a pixie and a satyr/satress. You don't know why, but you're a small pixie because of genes. Yeah, I think it's very, very cool. I love this. I really like having that little bit of inspiration in there. You already had in your text, so just for context for the viewers, when we looked at this previously, one of the aspects, I think one of the best things Frog did here is he chose to make the playable pixie a small creature instead of a tiny creature. And that deals with a whole bunch of gameplay issues that would come up from being tiny. And I really like this inspiration. Like, this is just a bunch of really inspiring little bits for a player wanting to play this class to really get, to really latch onto and work with. I love it.
I do as well. I think that's a great addition. So the Gossamer Wings didn't have the spell. I want to look. Did we talk in depth about the Gossamer Wings thing at all?
Yeah, so Gossamer Wings previously, right, had its fly speed of 15 feet, and then there was a second feature that had all the spell casting. And because the subclasses involved using your Gossamer Wings, then losing the feature, right, and then also losing the spell casting feature, I think having them all on the one feature now works a lot. And I see you change up the spells a little bit. I don't remember what the original ones were, but I see you got Featherfall, Sleep, and Fly as the 3 new spells, following the classic kind of tiefling convention of what is it, 3rd level, 5th level, and 1st level. So very cool.
and then you don't short or long rest. It might be better to put those on long rest. Only I think that's more convention. Because short rest can actually be pretty powerful on these, but
Oh, yeah, I didn't notice that. I'm not sure actually. I assume you're right. The tiefling probably is long rest.
and I would stick with that if you can. But
Yeah.
let's look
definitely
at the Cloud Pixie. So the Cloud Pixie increases Wisdom score by 1, and the Mistcraft feature. You know the Gust cantrip. Charisma is your spellcasting modifier for this feature. The winds produced by this spell is visible with water, vapor, and mist, slightly dampening the target. Excellent choice. I know before it was tied heavily in with your wings, and it created this kind of consumable wings thing. I think that Cloud Pixie is in a much better space in this design.
Yeah, it's interesting because a lot of people might see that, right? And they might think, oh, that's so little on the sub race. Why do I even need it? But when you look at like dwarf sub races, it's one feature.
Yep.
Like you get an ability score and you get a feature. That's it. Like that's how most sub races work. So I think
strength and armor.
Yeah, right. This much more reserved Cloud Pixie is a really good implementation that's not going overboard. I like it a lot.
I agree as well.
Mint Pixie, residing in the special plane of candy and sweets that can be visited by chefs chosen by the Fae. They are very active and enjoy company, especially helpful to others who share their love for sweets. They also like to spread the sylvan sugar around the taste of snow and the springs to add a little more sweetness if possible. Increases by 1, and you know the Druidcraft cantrip. When you cast the Druidcraft cantrip, the option you instantly make a flower blossom, a seed pod open, or a leaf bud bloom. Effect gains the effect of showering nearby creatures with diminutive granulates of sylvan sugar. Okay. This is very much D&D time. Big Rock Candy Mountains.
In the same vein as the first one, though, I think it's also a very reasonable implementation. And
Absolutely.
cantrip on a point.
And I just wanted to interrupt. I like that you've got wisdom, and I know these haven't changed, I don't think, but I like that we've got a bunch of the different ability score options. It's not just different sub races with the same ability scores that are just a little different. I like how you've given them each their own kind of aesthetic.
Or it changes it changes the way you feel about picking it. Oh, both like, I mean, obviously class choices, but as well as like what that pixie is like, and those ability scores definitely play into the flavor of the class as well. So it's important.
And Vibani, your question about why you use charisma, and it's because charisma is already your base pixie spellcasting requirement. It'd be really weird for your base pixie spells to use charisma and your sub-race pixie spell to use something else. That just wouldn't make any sense.
Yeah, all pixies get charisma.
Pete, you want to talk about the PAL pixie or the Paul pixie?
I'd love to. So this is one of the more controversial ones last time, and I was reading ahead a bit, and I could see that it's been way toned down, and it is in a much better spot here. Paul Pixies, those who descended from the traitorous bloodline that attempted to usurp the courts of the Feywild, lost their magical power as a result of their ancestors, but have adapted by becoming disease-ridden, bloodthirsty creatures who hunt anything and everything, regardless of size or number, as they overcome them with malice in feasting swarms. A terrifying image, but also it is very Feywild, like the darker side of the Feywild, which is not often represented.
We were talking about this the first time. We had these in D&D time a couple times. They've showed up. I've used them.
Yeah, I remember you running adventures with these. You used Dance of the Sugar Plum Fairies for the music, because it's weirdly creepy.
It is really
in the right context. The Paul Pixie, so they get a strength bonus, which I love that the pixie gets the strength. Is very cool.
These are barbarian pixies.
And then they have the feature Blood Hungry. You lose the racial spellcasting features from Gossamer Wings and gain the ability to regain hit points by biting a target. As a special melee attack action that uses your natural weapon, you can deal 1d4 piercing damage to a target and gain a number of temporary hit points equal to the damage dealt. You cannot gain temporary hit points from this feature while you possess temporary hit points. Starting at 5th level, this damage is treated as magical for the purpose of overcoming resistances.
This is really interesting.
Yeah, this is in a much different space. I remember last time you showed us this. It's scaled. It was like 2d4, and then I think it scaled up to 4d4, and you got flat hit points from it. So this is definitely moving in the right direction.
Even beyond that, actually, one of the biggest issues with it before is it was just a natural weapon that just did the damage all the time. This is a special melee attack action. Uses your action to make one attack. This doesn't benefit from stuff like extra attack because of the way you wrote it. And I really like that. I like this being a tactical choice, right? Of I'm going to use this feature, right? Because I need the temp hit points more than I need the extra attack right now. I like that quite a bit.
I agree. And honestly, I would say that in its current state, I think it might. I say this hesitantly, but do you think this could actually come up in power level a little bit, Jeremy? Because you're giving up that spell casting suite for this 1d4 damage temporary hit point.
You're giving up Featherfall, Sleep, and Fly. And you can only cast the spells once. Like, you only cast one of the spells once. You don't get all of them.
My concern is, I guess, that, for example, once we move past, like, the point where you get this, like that level 1, obviously, it's
incredible, yeah.
It's really good. But then
at level 5, you're going to start murdering squirrels for temp HP, Pete.
Maybe.
That sounds about right for a Pal Pixie. You're carrying around like a cage full of rats, just.
You might want to specify a duration of those temporary hit points.
I like that. That works for me.
You just want to have. Maybe. Okay, well, so let's say level 5, you start eating squirrels between fights. I think at level.
I think you're right,
10,
though.
It loses a little bit of oomph.
Maybe it could be a D6 with an actual weapon.
Yeah, or like before, some of the issue was the way it was, but since this is now like a full round action and not an attack, like you might even be able to re-implement the scaling on a smaller degree in this. Like,
I don't know. I think given that you can still fly, right, and you still have your lesser magic resistance, or I'm sorry, I'm lagging really bad right now. The Pixie Mischievousness, which I see you change magic resistance into Pixie Mischievousness. I think that was a good call. Like, because you already get those features, basically the flight and that. I don't know. I think this is a fine as it is personally, but.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just a little close. It's definitely like, it's like I'm on the border where it's really good at level 1 and then it falls, but it's not a problem. It's definitely close. It's definitely close to what you give up for it. So I don't know. I think it's cool, and I like what you did with the design here in a long ways. You can tell by like how back and forth it is that this is close to being right.
Absolutely. And then Woodland Pixie, the most well-known of the Pixie races. Their wings glow brightly as they flutter about in the thick forest they call home. Not only is this light something that illuminates the area to them, but it also reveals what creatures intend to bring them harm. And they have the feature glitter. They get dexterity as their bonus, and they have glittering wings. Your wings shimmer and sparkle with tiny lights. You can cast the light cantrip targeting your wings. Any creature seen within the area of the light is surrounded by a colored aura denoting their alignment. Oof. That might be a bit much, my dude. My duder.
Yeah. Because usually 5e doesn't interact with that. Even things like detect evil and good actually don't detect alignment. They just detect certain like celestial and extraplanar creatures. I see you have a cool little like gray text over here for what colors or what alignments, which is I think a cool like lore thing that you've put together here, which is like, a dark green would be lawful good, or a dark red would be chaotic evil. But I don't know if you can like put that's such like a story-based feature. I don't think you could put that on anything. Like it's not an issue of balance. I just don't think you can give something that.
Yeah, it's weird. Alignment's such a strange concept in 5th edition D&D anyway. It's hard. Even if you say only pixies can see this light, which is what you wanted to have there saying in the chat. I don't know. It's weird. Like a lot of
like a cool feature.
Don't even think about it.
I was gonna say, I feel like that's a cool feature for almost a home game. Like that would be like a flavor that you would do for it. But I just don't think that's something you could put for everyone, because it just wouldn't work at everyone's table. Even though I think it's rad,
Yeah, and I'm gonna just do some quick zooming in here. Oh my goodness, that was the wrong zooming in, guys. Because I want to
yeah.
look at these awesome pictures here,
Oh,
denoting
yes.
each of them. I really like the big hair on your Cloud Pixie Frog. Very good.
The Cloud Pixie's great.
The Mint Pixie, just yum 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 yum. And of course, our favorite little
down
fiends.
down on the ground with the holes in the wings. And that's the Pixie. Frog, I think you've done a really good job of pushing this in the right direction.
Yeah, this is a huge step up. And I mean, you were in a good spot anyway, frankly, before. But now it is in a very, very good spot.
Yes. It's still, I will say it's still very powerful. Just because, like, the dexterity saving throw.
Like,
the fly speed, the spells, and the advantage on dex and charisma.
It's one spell. The way this is written, once you cast any one spell listed by the trait, you can't use any of the spells until you cast a short or long rest. Until you have a short or long rest. So you get fly, sleep, or feather.
I was reading it as
not all of them. Yeah.
Okay.
So you get
that was also coloring
spells.
my opinion on the poll as well.
You get one of those spells, and you get resistance to dexterity and charisma, which is really good, and you get the fly speed, which is obviously really good, even if it's only 15 feet. But honestly, I think this is pretty balanced. I would give you the balance point. Right?
I would as well. It's like on the high end of the curve, but
you're still wavering on the playability just because of that alignment issue. But God, I hate not giving you it for a sentence. For one little thing.
Yeah, I mean, we're not doing a Lich's Lair right now anyway. I mean, this is in a great spot.
It's awesome. Thank you so much again, Frog, for sharing.
Thanks, Frog.
Broken Record. If you want to find more awesome content by The Forgotten One, check out our Discord, dndtime.stream/#Discord, or just go to dndtime.stream and hit the Discord button. And Pete, what is the other amazing stuff that people can find by following our channel on Twitch at twitch.tv/dndtime? What are the other things we do?
That's a great question. While I parse the question again, because I was reading chat, the other things that we do are Pete and Jeremy's D&D Time is a big one. You can tune in next Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific, where we run one-shots alongside the community. We have players from our community here that come in and join us for the games. They're short, they're fun, they're wacky. If you could tell by the Mint Pixie, the Candy Fairy, that was very much a reference to that game. We have a lot of fun there, and I suggest you check it out. And then a week from today, we're going to be doing a one-shot that I'm going to run. I don't know what that's going to be. It might be Word Warriors. It might be anything.
It's been a long time since we've had a Word Warriors.
Yeah, we might bring back the Word Warriors. I have not yet decided. I have a lot of stuff that I would like to play around with. So
my overlay's so good for that. You should do it.
That's true. I got to use Jeremy's very good overlay. Either way, expect a one-shot here next Sunday at the time that Fantasy Labs would normally be. So again, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 Pacific. And then a week later, it'll be back to Fantasy Labs. So you got a couple weeks. If you guys have any cool ideas, now's the time to start working. So we can take a look through. But that's all we got for new content.
Yeah.
Jeremy,
thanks for hanging out, everybody.
I know we're at the end of the show. I do want to say a thing because there was conversation about the alignment not being a big deal, and I gotta just really quickly say, the reason the alignment thing is a problem is because sometimes alignment's like an interesting story beat, where, for example, they might be interacting with a character that's been really kind to them and really nice that the GM plans to be like a betrayer, and then they put the thing on them, and they're like, oh, they're evil. They're this like really friendly barkeeper that's been nice to us this whole time is lawful evil. Huh.
Another interaction, and this is a much more cynical, because that one doesn't really burn the players necessarily. The one that does burn the players is, I am the paladin, Pixie, and they're evil, I murder them. Oh, but we wanted to talk to that person. Oh, well, they were evil, so I killed them. But we were talking with that NPC. Yeah, but they were evil, so I killed them. I know they were evil. I could tell by my thing. You know what I mean?
These are niche cases and maybe not true for a game. That's what I'm saying. It's just like, it's not a thing that would fit into every game. I think there are games where this would be really cool, but it seems like a DM discretion thing that like I wouldn't put as a hard mechanic if DMs don't want to use it, because then the player will be disappointed if they can't use their cool alignment detect thing.
Yeah, one thing it could maybe do, like, as in having it overall like that, just doesn't really fly. But if you had it as like, of, you know, CR1 quarter or less or something, like if you really wanted to keep it in some way, that could be an interesting thing, an interesting way to handle it, right? Just at least it's just, you know, commoners, right? It's like, oh, that person doesn't have an aura, that there must be too high of a challenge rate, right? Kind of like, maybe, if you really wanted to keep it. Or maybe something about sensing emotion.
That almost also carries with it, like, on the same non-assuming non-assuming tavern keep, that you now know that, oh man, this guy's above CR1 quarter.
Yeah, maybe CR2, right? Like, who knows?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that's possible, but like, I don't know.
Maybe sensing emotion would be better. Maybe. I think you were basing that, I think, on the heart sight feature of the sprite, correct?
Pixies might have it too. Anyway, those are a couple of thoughts on that, but I just wanted to say, like, that's why I think that's a problem. I think that, like, it could be cool, but there's just enough people for whom it might disrupt things.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't even run that feature. Like, if someone wanted to do this in my game, I would run with that and be like, oh, that sounds really fun.
Also, it was right. Heart sight from the sprite is emotional state, so maybe that's the direction to go, because that's a little bit more open-ended, right?
Yeah, you could put it as like you could put it in the gray box as a optional rule. Like, that would be a way to do that well. And then you could even do the alignment if you just specify that that's an optional rule. Like,
yeah, that would actually be fair too. Either way, thank you for hanging out this evening. This was a lot of fun. We talked about a lot of awesome stuff. I'm super excited for Theros, which is coming out in, what, 2 days? Yeah, 2 freaking days. So we'll be talking about that eventually. Although it's going to be hard to get our hands on a physical copy, because I don't think those are coming out for like a month or two. So they're forcing me to buy things online, Pete. Darn.
Jeremy, how could they do this to you? Actually, how could they do this to you? I actually also don't like buying things online. I'm with you.
I would much rather have my book. Or at least a real PDF. Anyway.
We'll be probably covering that a lot as it's coming out and talking about all the various things in it. It'll be almost like a good old-fashioned D&D time talks probably for a while as we're coming into Theros. But expect that, and thank you all one more time for hanging out and talking homebrew, and for contributing your content, and for just being great, you guys. Extra special shout out to Crowley for braving the Lich's Lair.
Absolutely.
It takes a true hero to step into the layer of critique in the way that Crowley did tonight, so we appreciate that as well.
And not easy.
If you're interested in having something you've made evaluated on the Lich's Lair, let me know. We got an opening for the next time if anyone wants to take it. So we'll. That's all I got.
He's Pete.
He's Jeremy, and this is Fantasy Labs.
Good night,
everyone.